So I'm going to start here. So from the top, Zingtree is a simple-to-use toolkit to create interactive decision trees. We've learned that our customers use Zingtree for multiple use cases, from self-solving user inquiries to HR-type surveys and questionnaires to sales funnels. But there's really two major areas in which decision trees are employed. One is external usage, in which a decision tree or troubleshooter helps a user self-solve their inquiry, or an internal usage, in which agents or internal employees are using scripts as a guide as they are speaking with their customers. For the customer who has internal agents or employees, Zingtree is the ideal tool to create scripts for these users to follow. Agent scripting is multifaceted, but mostly follows a single objective: arm your agent with a dynamic script that they can follow while speaking with a customer. For the customer who's using decision trees in an external environment, these customers are looking to provide users and customers the ability to immediately self-solve their problem or inquiry without live support interaction. Basically to deflect as many tickets as possible from going to a more expensive live operator. So then Bill's going to be showing an example of an external use decision tree and how that works.
Okay, so yeah, I'm Bill. I'm CTO at Zingtree. So this is a troubleshooter we built for an astrology site. So when people have problems with the membership or email delivery or anything, they would see something like this. They basically choose one of the choices, click through, and depending on what they choose, they get a different question, a different response. And then you kind of go through the process, and the customer will go through. At any point, they can see a history of where they've been, and they can go back if they want to go to another step. So this is, obviously a really simple way to have a customer self-solve what they're doing. If the customer can't solve their problem, for example, if a ticket is created, Zingtree has an email form where the customer can basically put in their information, and you can pre-populate the fields if you want. So a message can be sent either to like a Zendesk or an email address on the other end. And at some point, we will get an email. There we go. That shows all the steps that the customer took in trying to self-solve, so that when a support rep gets a ticket, they basically have some background information already, and that saves a lot of back and forth between customer and the tech person. And again, there's also a Zendesk app that does this as well. The other cool thing about Zingtree is you can embed into a particular site. So rather than having Zingtree host it, you can have it embedded into another site. So this is an example from a software company that's embedded Zingtree inside. So you can see it uses all the Chrome of the other company. And again, the troubleshooters work just like so. For internal use, for call centers, that's the other big use for Zingtree. So you can create scripts for agents to follow. They can gather data as they go. And there's some other call center-centric features. So for example, here's an outbound sales script for a cleaning business. So the agent can basically gather data as they go. Lots of times with call center technology, they need to say some sort of a disclaimer. So here it won't let the agent go on until they click that they did the disclaimer. Again, we're doing some data collection. We have a confirmation option. And so depending on what gets chosen, again, you see different options here. And so this is leading the agent through an appointment lead generation process. The other cool thing about the agent scripting is there's a feedback option. So as the agents are using the script, let's say they see something that's not clear or needs to be changed, they can basically send feedback back to the authors. So so this will get sent to the author's emails with the tree and the node number, and also it'll be provided into part of the editing tools as well.
Now, Bill, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Will that give them, the author, the path that the agent followed up to that point?
It will show them the tree and the node number where they're asking about.
Okay, so the context that's set is just exactly where they are, not the path that they took to get there.
Exactly, but you can go back through and see the path that all the agents took previously.
Okay, thank you.
And then as far as different ways of presenting this to your agents or end users, we have some various hosting options. So when you're publishing a tree, you go to the publishing links. And so if you're having Zingtree host the tree, for example, you can go to advanced hosting options. And so we have different things you can see. You've got two different styles. We've got a button style, as you can see here. There's also a panel style. So if you want to see what panels looks like, you just click here. And again, it will give you the URL of how you would publish the tree, given the style parameters that you show. We also have a history option. So as you click through the tree, like I showed earlier, you can see the path that's taken. And there's also a breadcrumbs option, which is sort of a different way of showing context, so which appears here. So again, as you click through the tree, it shows you where you've been. We also have what are called persistent buttons. So at the bottom of every tree, you've got a back button and a restart button, and you can toggle them on and off. So if you don't want to allow people to restart, for example, you can take this out. And again, it'll change the link. Likewise, you can take out the back button if you want. And again, the URL is always dynamically changed, and you see a preview of what it's going to look like here. So another cool thing you can do with this is we've got some themes and custom CSS. So if you want to change the look of your tree, you can basically choose different preset themes. So if you want to do like a sunshine theme, for example, so you can change the colors and buttons. Got a few of these already built in. And if you don't like any of those, you can add your own CSS file. So we give you some examples, and you can basically customize the button colors, button size, font, that sort of thing. And the CSS is really powerful because we also have some customers that are doing some really crazy things. So here's one example from a third-party site. So this is from Doodle Mobile, and they did some pretty amazing work. So all these things here, actually, they launched Zingtrees. And the first time we saw this, we didn't even know it was Zingtree because they did such a good job with it. But they really went crazy with the CSS. And so the point is, you can really customize this to make it work with your with the look and feel of what you're doing.
Nice.
So as far as call centers go, we have what's called we have several different options. One of which is an agent portal. So somebody can log into Zingtree as an agent, and then they get the list of all the scripts they have access to. So, for call centers that don't want to integrate with the CRM or just want to keep it really simple, they can basically provide scripts to all the agents, and the agents can go through and again run through their scripts, like we showed before. And they've got a few options to start again, finish with a customer, go back, and again they also get the history as well. So it's a really simple way for agents to get up and running. As far as integration with other things, we have an example with Salesforce. Again, Zingtree will integrate with virtually anything that can open up a URL. So Salesforce, for example, we log in. And so if we can take a Salesforce case, for example, and what we've done is we've created a custom button called Agent Script. And so if let's say a customer calls and you open up their case and you want to help them through, you can basically bring up a script. Again, this is for the astrology site, and you can kind of go through and help them out and troubleshoot, like so. So it's a very easy way for call center people to get some extra information. The other cool thing about the CRM interface is it has what we call pause and resume. So you notice that if we open up Agent Script again, it keeps the history from the last transaction and takes them back to the same place they were previously. So, for example, if a call is escalated to a Tier 2 agent, the new agent can come in and see exactly what steps were taken previously and continue with the script at that particular point in time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how much customization work is required to get that? You said it was custom code in Salesforce to get the agent script going, but is it a package that you've got ready for your customers, or is it different for every customer that has a Salesforce implementation? It's probably built on force.com.
So we have an article on how to do it. Basically, what you're doing is you're creating a custom button. So I can just show you what that looks like real quick. The customization is really easy. So you customize and cases, and we find buttons, links, and actions. So what we did is we just basically created a custom button that opens a URL. So we call this Agent Script. And so the URL itself basically can send along some Salesforce data, like the agent name and a case number. But all it really is doing is it's just opening up a Zingtree hosted URL in another window and passing along some information about about which agent started it and the case number, so we can attach it to the ticket and do the pause and resume part.
Got it. And so then when the decision tree or when the Zingtree session is complete, then it captures that and puts it back into the case in Salesforce as an attachment, or actually in case notes?
It can do that. There's a Zapier option that can take data back from Zingtree into Salesforce. But really, because the way the pause and resume works, when you go back to the case, you can just click the Agent Script button, and it'll show you exactly what happened previously. So there's really no need to bring anything back in unless you're doing like some data collection or you want to update some other things within Salesforce.
Got it. So let's say on the same case. So I'm trying to think of scenarios where on the same case they might need to go through more than one tree. And is there that type of use case for it, or maybe not? So that it would be confusing.
They would probably create a different case, though. So you think, Kelly, they would create a different case?
Yeah,
I guess it depends on what the tree, how separate the trees are, and if the case has more than one, option.
Maybe you could have different
using more than one tree.
Yeah,
you could have different trees with different cases.
Yeah, that's one way to do it. That's actually a great segue to what I was going to show you next, was our Zendesk implementation.
Cool.
So Zendesk is another integration that we have. So within Zendesk, you can basically choose different trees or list of trees based upon settings within Zendesk. So, for example, when in a call center scenario, often callers will call in on different numbers, and based upon the number that's called in, the brand will get set up within Zendesk. So we have the capability of switching trees based upon brand or other custom fields. So this is sort of how a tree will look like inside of Zendesk. And again, this is our Zendesk app. And so again, you have the history and the pause and resume and the agent feedback. All those things we showed you earlier. And again, so if the brand changes, let's say the customer calls in and is like, oh, you know what, I didn't want to call about the astrology product. I wanted to call about something else. We can basically locate scripts that are attached to this brand. So we have 3 Zingtree branded scripts in our system. And we can kind of go through and switch that way. So does that sort of answer your question? Does that kind of show how you can use the scripts with the same thing?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
And the other cool thing you can do again with Zendesk is you can bring information from the ticket, like for example, the customer's name shows up here, and then the product also gets inserted here. We do this with something called merge variables. So it's, again, it makes it nice for the agent to be able, if they're reading from a script, they can basically not have to refer back to the left-hand side to get things on the right-hand side. And again, the pause and resume is also a feature of Zendesk. And any other questions on integrations before we move on, and I'll show you how to actually build these things?
No, I'm good.
So it sounds like most of your customers are probably using Salesforce or Zendesk, which are probably the 2 I would expect. Is there any other integrations that are currently being used?
Well, we have
the 2 major ones, but
we have a Freshdesk app and a Desk.com integration article. But again, most CRMs are pretty generic. I mean, what I showed you with Salesforce is basically how you integrate. You basically just tell your CRM to open a URL someplace and pass along information about who's using it and a case number, and that's kind of all you need to do.
Got it.
So should we go ahead and build something?
Go for it.
Okay, so from your My Trees in Zingtree, create a new tree. I'd like to start by showing the wizard. There's lots of different ways to build trees, but the wizard is usually the easiest one. And we will call this, how about we'll do a decision tree for how to judge a software product.
Nice.
In case you guys need any help.
There we go.
Create the tree.
You'll give us that URL, right?
Absolutely. and of course, all the NPAS will lead to Zingtree being number 1. So as you saw, every tree has a title and a content area and some questions. So is it cool? Say, is the product cool? Okay, so you can sort of see what your tree is going to look like on the side there. And so the wizard basically finds any open-ended branches and then asks you to continue. So if the first answer is yes, you might say, is the product useful? And then we can put some more answer buttons here. Again, you got a preview on the right-hand side. And let's see, is the product cool? No. And then we might just say, make this a terminating answer node. It's like, Is it useful? Yes. Then maybe we'll say if it's cool and useful. So is the product cool? Yes. Is it useful? Yes. We'll say like so. Is it useful? No. Maybe we'll use an existing node because we already have this one like so. And so we've basically gone through the wizard and built a basic decision tree. So if you want to see how it looks, let's preview it. Product cool? Yes. Is it useful? Yes. Like so. So the other way to do trees is with the visual designer. So a lot of people are visual. And so here's how our product looks, our decision tree looks in our designer. And you can add other things to the designer. So for example, product cool. If you want to add a question and something else here, maybe I'm not sure. And maybe we can say, just link it up like so. Show what to sell. And again, the cool thing about our decision trees is they're not technically trees, they're more like networks. So you basically can create things that are not quite tree structures. So if you zoom in a little bit, so we basically added another question node to the to our tree. Let's say the layout. And now if we exit, again, we can preview from here. Not sure. Will it sell? Yes. Like so. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that visual designer is nice.
Yeah. So a lot of your work in Zingtree is done through overview. So basically it shows all of your nodes. The little home button shows your root node, where you're starting the tree. There's also thumbnails view, so if you want to get a little bit more of a preview of what your tree looks like, you can basically see every single node as it's going to appear to the end user, and you can zoom different levels. So this is sort of a pretty handy way of seeing what your tree is going to look like. Editing nodes is really simple. And you can also include images if you want. So if I look for I will take this image and copy it. So within Zingtree, you can paste images, videos, that sort of thing into your trees. Like so. That's how you would bring a picture in. You can also bring videos in if you want. You just give the URL of the video, and it would embed it within the tree. You can change fonts, make it bold. I can make it a different style.
So like an application of that would be you get to a certain point in the tree and you know you've got like a YouTube video that kind of explains a complicated process.
Exactly.
And you would embed it at that point in the tree to point the customer to a solution.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So again, it's a lot of the way troubleshooters work is it's like, okay, answer a question. Okay, now try this, and then try this part. It might show a video. Did that solve your problem? Yes, great. No, okay, now try this, and there might be another video.
Yeah.
So yeah, and within here, you can do all the basic HTML editing, hyperlinks, etc. And images, videos, and again, for adding form fields, I'll say this one. And maybe on this page, if you want, you can, since we passed the is it cool phase, we can add data entry field. It's like, okay, and there's different types of data entry fields you can use. You've got multi-line text, numbers, dates, checkboxes, etc. We can add the field here. You can see what the node's going to look like. So the data entry by default goes to the bottom, but you can also insert it anywhere within the content area if you want. So now if we say, and you can see your different data entry fields here. Save the changes. So now in your preview, you can see the data entry field in place as you go.
So I see like a practical use, like for self-service, like you had mentioned, but I also see kind of a practical use for it for actually case submission. If you know, there has to be some decisions on what's your request, and I know that the end result, you know, might not be necessarily to get the situation resolved, but to get the right information to submit a case.
Right.
To customer service. Are your customers using it in that scenario as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, you can sort of filter out people whether they need to like submit a case, or maybe they just at the end of another part of the process, it might be something where you should call right away. You know, for example, like in a medical situation, you know, we've got decision trees for scheduling. So a scheduler will go through the tree with somebody to ask some questions, and you know, if it seems like it's fairly benign, they'll schedule a doctor. If it looks like it's life-threatening, then they'll, you know, go to another place, and it's like, okay, you know, we're sending an ambulance out to you, etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that sort of make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And this last part of creating trees is you can use spreadsheets to create trees. So you can go from Google Sheets or Excel. So if we do learn more here, so there's an article about how to do this, and we also have a sample. So basically, within your spreadsheet program, you lay out your nodes by title, content, question, if you want any tags on there, and then what the buttons are and what links they go to. So this particular tree has 8 nodes. I can copy this if I want, and come back, and then I can go to the import tool. And so. And so now here's the tree that we just brought in. So we have some customers that, you know, basically want to fill out everything in a spreadsheet and have all that stuff there, and then just in one fell swoop they can bring it into Zingtree, and then they can go in and edit and do all the different things that they want to do with it.
Nice.
So the other cool thing about Zingtree is we have what are called tree nodes. So a tree can launch another tree. So in this one, when the person reaches node number 7, they're actually going to launch a clothing demo that we have. So if we preview our tree and go to choose clothing style, it actually brings up a whole other tree. So basically, you can kind of split up your knowledge into different smaller parts. So for example, we have hardware companies that are using this, and they've got 5 different products, and all the products have the same power on troubleshooting process. So you can start with 5 different trees, and then each one can go to this particular discrete process. So you're not duplicating content throughout several different trees. You can basically just link to one other part of the process.
And not updating content in several trees.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, the point is to not have to duplicate content in different places.
Nice.
So, and the other cool thing you can do with this is you can link to a URL. So a tree can just go link out to another web page if you want. So for this this one again, say, oh, let's check the weather. And this will basically go out to your Weather Channel page. So you can go through a tree and then just link out to a web page if you wanted. You can go to a submit a ticket page or more information or, a product brochure or anything like that. And I showed you email nodes earlier. We can gather email. And the other cool thing you can do is something that's called a scoring node. So besides just doing pure decision tree things, you can add a node that will basically branch depending on a score. So each button that you click can add to a score. And also to a variable. So if your score variable is like 0 to 1, you can go to here, for example. And if it's from 2 to 3, you can go to another place, etc. So you can basically create really sophisticated knowledge bases above and beyond just simple tree branching by assigning scores to either data input or to button clicks and branching accordingly.
So we needed the scoring node on the judging one.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, so it makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, so some other cool features you can do with Zingtree. I'm going to show our FAQ. So our FAQ is actually written with Zingtree. So sometimes people want to be able to search through knowledge bases. So you can enter a search form that will either search the current tree or all your trees. So if you want to learn about custom CSS, for example, this will basically show you all the nodes within the tree that have the article, like so. Another cool thing you can do is by tagging nodes, you can build sort of mini table of contents. So we've basically tagged all these with sort of featured building trees area. And you can go to another one that has basically everything on building trees. So if you want to see how this particular one works, I can go to our gallery organization. And I can find our FAQ. I'm sorry, it's not in the gallery, it's in this one. So that homepage that we just showed you earlier, so it basically looks like this. I can go full screen. So this is the search form that we showed, and then you can basically add these little macros that will insert do different things. So this will basically find every node that's tagged with popular building, and this one shows popular as far as building goes. And so if we go back to our overview, you can see that we can basically filter our list of nodes based upon how they've been tagged earlier. Does that make sense?
Nice. Yeah. And with this, just like any other tree, you can add images and videos and text within your FAQ as well.
Yeah, exactly. So some other cool things you can do with Zingtree is, as far as building goes, and there are more tools. We have something called snapshots. So basically, each time a tree is edited or changed, we save a snapshot of the previous version. So it's sort of like our built-in version control. So it shows, who changed it and what changed and when. And you can recover any previous version if you want, or compare and see what has changed between two different versions. So you can see that node 16, so the content changed. This is what was there before, and this is what was there after. So snapshots is really handy because sometimes people do mess up. We also have something called webhooks. So webhook is another way of integration where you can actually go out to outside sources and bring data back into Zingtree. So this demo uses a zip code database hosted on another site. So somebody give me a zip code.
45069.
45069.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically it means that you're in Westchester, Ohio.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people doing more complicated things, being able to interface with third-party databases to do data lookups is pretty handy.
And the webhook you can add into a tree?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to add into a tree. I can show you what one looks like in my gallery. So this is the way this one looks here. So webhook is basically installed as an app. So you so for your organization, you can add as many webhooks as you want. And basically this just goes out to the Zippopotamus service, passes in the zip code variable, and it'll return another variable into Zingtree. And so the demo is really simple. So it basically just does a lookup here. This little building block means that it has a webhook in there. And we look under advanced options. Just sends a message to the webhook that we built, passes along the zip code variable, and it'll return variables called city and state.
Nice.
So, yeah, so there's a lot of, any kind of customization you want to do with that. It makes it pretty easy for people to do some advanced stuff. It's also an API. So for people that want to do more with the Zingtree data, we've got a bunch of different calls you can do. You can get like session data, for example. We give live examples here. We have a PHP wrapper. So this is all a standard REST API. Kind of shows what everything looks like. It's well documented. So if you don't like our reports, you can grab data from the API and do whatever you want with it. Yeah, so speaking of reports, so we've got all kinds of cool reports. This is going to be from the troubleshooting demo that I showed you earlier. So basically, you can pick a different report, date range. Let's say, I don't know if I want it from here. So you can basically see all sessions within the date range. If you have call center agents, you can see who was running that session. And you can even filter on those agents if you want. You see just their sessions. You can click through for details. So if I want to see more about what happened, let's say in this one. So you can basically see the entire activity of the session and any data that was collected as you go along with it. And this also had an email sent with it too, which appears in notes. So you can really dig deep and see how people are using the different parts of the tree.
Yeah, is there a concept around abandoned sessions where the tree isn't complete?
Well, it's kind of hard to say because, every tree ends at some point. So what we do have is we have a results report. So basically within each node, you can attach unknown success or failure to the node. So based upon the last node visited, you can see how you can basically get an aggregate of how the tree worked, or within the session list. It shows the results.
So is that based on the person who went through the tree at the very end getting a final question saying, did this tree resolve your issue or not? Or is that how that's determined?
Well, I mean, if people abandon, they may not always say that it resolved their issue. They might just bail and do something else. So with each node, you categorize it as success, failure, or unknown. So if it didn't solve their problem and they submit a ticket, you'd probably categorize it as a fail. If they're kind of going through and they haven't really completed it, you do it as an unknown. And if they got to a successful resolution, you categorize it as a success.
Got it.
So the other cool thing you can do with this is a traffic map. So basically, you can see, using our designer, where all the traffic has gone. So if we zoom in, this is a fairly complicated tree. But the thicker buttons show where more traffic has gone, and the thinner buttons show less traffic. You can clean up the view if you want. So dark green is where you started, and so we see more people going to this page. And then from here, you can click on it and see what the different traffic has gone from here, etc. So it gives you a nice visual view of where all your problem spots can be, just by doing it this way. And then the other way you can look at traffic is through a walkthrough. So it's the button clicks. So you can basically walk through your tree and see how much action has happened on every node. So if you click on membership login, then from here you can see, okay, we had 4 on no, 4 on yes, 2 people clicked back, 1 person clicked restart, etc. So you can really get a good handle on the flows that people are taking through your trees. And people ask about exporting all the time. And so most of our reports, when it makes sense, have a CSV export. So you can export to a spreadsheet and bring the data in and, again, do whatever you want with it from there. So far, so good?
Great.
Yeah.
And then as far as managing authors go, so from here you can look at your, so every organization has a certain amount of authors you get, depending on your plan, and you can add other people in as well. So for example, with our sandbox, I've got 9 trees that I'm an author on, and my compatriot Debbie has 2. Let's say I want to add someone else, like, poor Tom, who's been so quiet. I want to throw him a bone here. So I was like, Tom,
let me author.
Yeah, I'm going to let you author something because you've been very, very patient with me. So I can add Tom as an author. So now he's allowed to author on the site. So now if I go to my trees, and Tom needs to have some input on how to judge. So now that Tom is added as an author to the Zingtree account, he can become a collaborator on any tree. So Tom's now going to be, let Tom be a full administrator on this particular tree. So, yeah, you know what? I'd like Tom, but I don't want him to be, have that much control. So I'm going to turn him into an editor instead. So now if you go to my trees.
Sorry, Tom.
That's okay. Happens all the time.
So you can see there's 2 authors here. So if I want to see the trees that Tom is an author on, I just go here. And then, compatriot Debbie, I can see her trees over here. And so notice that I can see her trees, but I don't have rights to the tree. So for each account, there's somebody who's a super user that can basically make themselves an administrator on any tree that they want. So because I'm the super user on this account, I can just click on here, and okay, now I'm an author on that tree as well. So now if I look at Debbie's trees, I have like full rights. Yeah, so that's basically how authoring and access works. Any questions?
No, it's amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, it seems like a great tool. Is there any connection or tie-in to trying to determine what trees are needed? So for example, when you went to your FAQ and people are searching, if they're not finding results, is there a way to capture what trees need to be created by a group of authors? Because you don't, like an organization, sometimes it's hard for them to know what trees would be in demand that still need to be created. Is there that type of report or that type of feedback that you can get from the system anywhere?
Well, so as far as the search goes, the search is categorized in the session list, so people can go through the session lists and see what people are searching for, especially ones that maybe wind up as a fail. And then in an internal scenario with agent feedback, that's sort of another good way of people saying, where there's holes within the logic system. I'm not sure how else you would do it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure either. I was just curious, like if you're trying to do this for self-service and your customers are trying to get from their customers where they might have some gaps and where there would be the best payoff to build new trees. Just curious if there's been any thought on like how to get that feedback from the system. It almost seems like it'd have to come from a different source, though.
Yeah, I mean it's
I'm not quite sure how you do it.
You can look at the traffic
traffic map to a certain degree, you can see where people have gone. But if people are submitting a ticket after going through the trees, that's
right.
a pretty good indicator that either your tree isn't as good as it should be, or you're not solving the problem properly.
Right.
I think that's really a manual thing.
So is there a report that they could leverage for that type of information pretty quickly? Like how many? I know we kind of saw it, but if that was my goal, is to try and figure out where can I build more trees that are going to help, increase my opportunity to deflect calls.
Well, the session list that we showed you, where I showed you the success, fail, and unknown. I think
right.
Look at your fails, probably go through those individually and see what people are doing. That's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So let me just show you a little bit about tagging and organizing trees. So first of all, these buttons here, remember I showed you the feedback before. You can basically see all the feedback on a tree. So that kind of dovetails on what you were asking about earlier. So these are the different agent feedback items that have been entered. And if you take care of one, you can just click it and it's gone, etc. So as far as my trees go, basically every tree can include multiple tags. So for example, this one, if I wanted to add a tag to it, I can go to settings and I can see a list of tags I already have. So I can add one here, and I can also add a new tag if I want, like so. And so once you've tagged your trees, you can basically filter on those tags. So we just have one with the zip tag, but we've got probably a few with the demo tag on them. So it's kind of like folders, but it's a little more flexible in that you can organize different trees into different places. You can also use these tags as in the Zingtree agent portal to restrict access to different agents. So if I look at my agents, for example, agents can also have tags. So if an agent is tagged, this particular agent would only have access to any tree that's tagged as demo or gallery. So within some call center environments, you want certain people to have access to certain trees, and this is a really good way to do it. And if you remember back to the Zendesk example where we showed a list of trees when we changed the brand, that's another use of tags where you can basically have a brand match any of the set of tags in your trees. So that's some of the uses for the tree tagging. And that's basically everything I have on the technology side. Tom can explain a little bit about pricing if you want to just see the business side of it, if that's interesting for you.
Yeah.
I think pricing, and then also one of the criteria that we're looking for is support.
Okay. Well, listen, since Tom has been so patient and since I dissed him a little bit, I'll let Tom do some pricing.
Give me my few minutes, please. Pricing is usage-based. As we've mentioned, Zingtree offers our customers both external-facing basis as well as an internal agent basis, and oftentimes our customers use it on a dual-case scenario. So we have different pricing plans, and these are all subscription-based, and all plans include external usage credits, as they're called, and internal agent credits, as well as all features. And we think this is important because we want our customers to have access to all of the advanced options and capabilities. We don't want to have them make decisions about which features to include or not to include, or even have any sort of a la carte pricing. We just make it all inclusive for everyone. Pick a plan that meets your kind of specified level of needs. And we cater to all size of companies and personnel. So we've got some one-person operations as well as super large corporations and everyone in between. So here's kind of how it works. Each plan has a specified number of authors, agent credits, and end user session credits. And so kind of you decide which plan meets your needs, based upon kind of the number of sessions or instances, or I have this many internal agents or employees who are going to be using Zingtree on a monthly basis. So let me go through some details here about kind of what an end user session is. An end user session credit pertains to the external usage of one of your decision trees. So an end user session occurs when at least one answer button is clicked on your decision tree. A user can click through multiple buttons as they're navigating the decision tree, but only a single session credit is counted. And if no button is clicked, no end user session is counted. Does that make sense?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah. Does that mean if it collects data, like a button that collects data?
Whatever the button and the node does.
Okay.
It could be collecting data. How we count it, though, is just based upon the navigation of the actual session or interaction.
Okay.
So if someone, you have a customer, they go to the site. This is on a self-support inquiry. For example, a customer goes to the site on the support page. They open the page itself, and they only view, the information, the first welcome page. They decide not to click. No session credit is counted. But once they click one button, and then they can navigate through 10, 15, 100 different buttons through the entire tree, one session credit is counted. So you can see on the various plans that there are certain numbers of session credits that are available or included in that specific plan. And really the benefit of this, and this is how Zingtree actually started, is we found it's less expensive to have a user self-solve their inquiry for pennies than get costly help from a live support body. The agent credit, on the other hand, applies to the internal use of the decision tree or your agent script. So often it's a call center agent or an internal employee who is using a script while they're communicating with their customers. So an agent credit equals one agent's unlimited use of Zingtree in a 24-hour day. The agent can log in and log out as many times as they needed over the course of the day, but only a single agent credit is counted. And the benefit of this type of basis is that you only pay for those days that an agent works, as opposed to a fixed monthly cost per agent, whether they work or not, if they're on vacation or out sick. So you're only paying for the agent on those days that they work. Questions on the agent credit?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
So
straightforward.
It's usually, from our perspective, as we're working with customers, I always tell them it's usually best to go with a plan that aligns with the number of authors that they're going to need to create and edit the decision trees. Then if there's a need for more credits than what are provisioned with the particular plan, they can purchase prepaid discount credits. So, for example, if someone says, I have maybe 3-4 authors, the professional plan would be recommended. You get specified number, 350 end-user session credits or 60 agent credits. And let's say they're using it on an agent basis, but they have 5 agents. They work on average 20 days per month. They'd need 100 agent credits, 5 times 20. So you only get 60 with the plan. That means that there could be a shortfall of 40 in any given month. So we offer these prepaid credit discounts that one can purchase to supplement the number of credits provided monthly in the plan. And you can purchase the prepaid credits in any bulk amount, minimum of 100, and those have a 10-year expiration date. So what happens is the provision credits are used first. So if you have 100 agent days, for example, in a month, the 60 would get used first. You've purchased X amount, let's say another 1,000 agent credits to supplement. 40 per month would be used, or whatever's needed to supplement those provisioned amounts in the plan. There's different volume levels of the prepaid credits, so the more you purchase up front, the lower cost per credit. And you can purchase both agent credits and end-user session credits on a prepaid discounted basis. So we found that a lot of customers like to go with a plan that just meets the author needs, and then they'll purchase a bulk amount of either session credits, agent credits, or both to accommodate their needs on a monthly basis. And from our perspective, the credit basis is a simple and flexible approach. You only pay for what you use. It's great for seasonal industries, so that if someone has a large Christmas time activity and know that they need more agents during that time period than the rest of the year, they can just purchase more credits for that time frame, knowing that they're going to last also for a 10-year time frame. So if they buy a lot, they don't use them all, they have them for the rest of the year or years to come. And also, it provides flexibility as the business grows. You purchase an appropriate number of additional credits accordingly. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It does.
All right. Beautiful.
And then you guys wanted to learn more about support and how we support the product?
Yeah, just briefly, if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah. So, under help, we've got lots of different things. You can contact us through help if you want. So again, this looks like a Zingtree. Imagine that. So, you can answer some questions, and we actually ask for some information, etc. Like so. And then kind of a cool integration is we have a chat box on the bottom. So this goes right into the chat box, and then people can, they've gone through, they've given us some information, and then they can enter a message into the chat. Like so. So you can always reach us via chat or just by clicking the bubble here. We have our FAQ, which I showed you. Lots of articles. We've got a blog, which posts a lot of how-tos, product updates, different things. You can find things in categorization. You can search. Usually the fact is that the FAQ is a place to start. We have tutorials. So we've got videos on using the wizard, or designer, or overview, etc. And yeah, and so there's basically a lot of information on the site. And again, the chat box is always there to contact us directly.
Bill also showed the gallery at the beginning. I think this is one of the best resources that we offer. There's probably about 50 to 60 different decision trees that we or customers have created, kind of on a generic basis. And so I point customers to the gallery all the time. Take a look at the decision tree, see if one has a similar flow, what you're looking for. They can play it. They can examine how it's made so they can get an understanding of how to build a decision tree and what goes into it. But they can also copy it. And I think that's great. They can copy immediately to their account and use that as a starting point to build their own decision tree.
I like that.
Yeah, that's nice.
And I don't know if it was mentioned. I mean, the most important thing, we offer a free trial. So someone can sign up for a 30-day free trial. You can invite multiple authors to start building, editing trees, create an unlimited number of trees during this period. And you can even make your decision trees live. I mean, basically, it's a free account to utilize the complete services of Zingtree to see if it's going to work for your business.
Very cool. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, that's great.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah. Any other questions? Or you guys just need some time to process?
No, I think it definitely went through all the criteria and answered all my questions. So
okay.
Yeah, it looks like a great solution.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think the next step for us is to go through your how to judge tree. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. I better edit it pretty quickly then.
Thank you. This is a great demo. I appreciate it.
Great. Well, thank you guys for taking
Absolutely.
the time to watch. And as always, if you have questions, just hit us up on chat, and we'll get right back to you.
Great. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks so much.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.